Hi everyone, welcome to Automatic Spelling. Today I just want to talk about what is automatic spelling. My name is Hannah McAdams and I created this program for my daughter. Okay, so welcome to Automatic Spelling. It is a very different kind of spelling program. This is my elevator speech. Hopefully this will be quick. It may be that there's more buttons in this elevator than in the picture because it's not going to be terribly quick, but I do want to tell you just kind of how it is different than typical spelling programs and what it's all about. Okay, the goal of automatic spelling is to enable students to spell common words correctly in their writing so that they can focus on their thoughts instead of the spelling words. Some students don't mind spelling things incorrectly while they're writing and then they correct them later, but there are a lot of students that get hung up because they think I should be able to spell this word and they can't. So that's why I created automatic spelling. This was the issue that my daughter was having, and I've seen many students who struggle with this. Not being able to put their thoughts on paper because they couldn't remember or couldn't retrieve the spelling of words. While spelling and writing are two different skills, it is possible for students to connect these skills with practice. This is similar to the way students spend weeks or even months learning multiplication facts. When the multiplication facts are mastered, then students can focus on more difficult skills in math, such as 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication or even long division. We have to master those facts first before the other things become a little easier to do. So first and foremost, and what I mean by that is, in my opinion, the most important. It's not actually the first portion of our day, but the most important is automatic spelling is a spelling drill program. Now, if you've never heard of a spelling drill program, that's because I made it up. Okay, so this is what our spelling drills look like. This is lesson 35. And as you see, there are 60 words. There are six columns, 10 rows. And every day, students write all 60. Now, if you have a student who is struggling with writing, then you can work up to that. Or when I work with my youngest son, he only does 30 a day. So we just do this, we would do 35B in 2 days. We do the first half on one day and the second half on the second day. There are other ways to modify if your student struggles with writing, but what I have found is you just work up to it. So if they can't do 60 in one setting at the beginning, usually by the end of the program they can. So that's what we do. And every lesson has about 7, sometimes 8 new words, and they're repeated 3 times in the grid, and all of the rest of the words are from review lessons. So we have this spiral drill practicing over and over. Just like if you learn the multiplication facts and you've mastered your 2 times 7 fact, it still comes up in a math problem. You practice it again and again, and so it's just automatic. Okay, so why do I do this? Weak spellers need to practice. 1 week is not enough time for for weak spellers to really master those words. And then you throw a new list at them and they just forget everything they've learned the last week. So this spiral review gives them the practice that they need. Just like students spend an entire year sometimes practicing multiplication facts, some students need to spend several weeks or more practicing spelling words. So the second component, and again, this actually comes before the grid, is the video lessons. Automatic spelling teaches spelling rules and phonograms through video lessons. Rather than teach rules and phonograms in isolation, automatic spelling teaches rules and phonograms cumulatively and helps students to analyze each new spelling word according to the phonograms it uses and the rules it follows. Okay, video lessons. So again, this is second in importance in my opinion, but it actually comes before the grid or the drill portion. Okay, most spelling programs teach word families or phonograms or rules in isolation. Let me show you what I mean here. So you may see a spelling list that looks like this. All of these words end in AT. So we call that a word family, the AT word family. Cat, hat, mat, and sat. All right, I've seen lots of spelling programs that do this. They come up with some sort of word family, and then they have the students study those. They write them for their spelling test, and actually this makes students very successful on a spelling test. But that doesn't mean that they can write it outside of that spelling test. So what they're doing is they're just saying, okay, well, I'm just going to add AT to all these words, but they're not really thinking about how they're spelling those words, and they're not keeping them, in their brain so that they can retrieve them later. Okay. So here, these all have the EA phonogram. And EA has 3 different sounds. So if you see the rear, that has the E sound, steak has the A sound, pear has the A sound, and bread has the sound. So in this case, every word uses EA. Now I've seen that several different ways. Sometimes they'll have like the E sound, and they'll use different spellings of the E sound on the same list, which is kind of a nightmare in my opinion, because then students have to really figure out which phonogram to use, and it's very hard for them to memorize. Okay, and again, if they have a list like this, they are going to be successful probably, usually, on their spelling test. So in my opinion, the goal of that spelling program is to help students pass a test. But that's not actually teaching them to spell, because when they get out of that, they're not able to regurgitate those words, if that makes sense. Okay, and then here is one that follows rules. So here we have cut and cute, so we add that E, and the U says U. Hop and hope, we added the E, and the O says O there. So that's teaching a spelling rule. Well, again, that's a good thing for students to know, to learn how to use those rules. And I think it's very helpful for learning to read. But they're just, again, on a spelling test, they're just saying, okay, well, it's a short sound, so I'm not going to have an E. It's a long sound, so I'm going to have an E. Well, then they think that they just add an E to any word that has a long vowel sound. So for steak, they might just say S-T-A-K-E, which is a word, but it's not what they were trying to spell. Again, that is how most spelling programs work. And I'm going to step on some toes here because I don't teach that way. I don't think that it actually helps students learn to spell outside of a spelling test. Okay, so in automatic spelling, students analyze each word according to cumulative rules and phonograms. For example, this is a screen of one of my videos, and here are all the rules that we have learned so far. English words do not end in IU, V, or J. You can read all of these. And then I say, okay, well, we're going to study, do you see the crane sign? We're going to study the word fall today. They have already established that fall, the A uses the third sound, A-A-ah. So we put a little 3 over that to remind us that it's the third sound. They've learned that. They've done that for several different words throughout the program. Okay, and then they need to analyze a spelling rule. So I say, what spelling rule is this following? And by this time, because they have practiced this over and over again, these are the spelling rules that they are using as their guide. They can find that we sometimes double letters at the end of a base word. So we're doubling that L. And then they can think, oh, hey, we've already learned how to spell all. This is just like that. So do you see how that's different? They're analyzing instead of memorizing rules in isolation. Okay, and then the third component is the writing practice. And this actually we do some at the beginning and some at the end, but in my opinion, this is not quite as important, but it actually does really help students learn. So automatic spelling gives students daily practice in writing through dictation. So if you look at the bottom, it says, enough of this cold winter, said mother. I'll blow that up a little bit. Enough of this cold winter, said mother. So you read that to your students and they write it. They practice using quotation marks. They practice using the correct end marks. All of these words they have learned to spell throughout the lessons. And so they're able to, without looking at it, try to write that correctly. Okay, so that's one thing. Then we also every day work on plurals and possessives. So here is an example of that. In this lesson, they've learned house, weigh, and read. Those are words from their spelling list. And so then they have to make them possessive and plural possessive. And that increases in difficulty gradually. First we just do plurals, then we do possessive, singular possessive, and then we do plural possessives, as we go through the lessons. And then editing. So at the end, and I know this is kind of blurry, but at the end of the program in units 5 and 6, we have a daily editing program. And so we work on just learning how to use the editing marks and when to capitalize, when to put a period at the end of a sentence, things like that. So all of those kind of working together really make this spelling program very different than anything I've ever seen. Automatic Spelling, again, uses video lessons, daily drill, and writing practice. And that combination when students use this combination daily in Automatic Spelling, they see fewer spelling errors in their writing. So hopefully that makes sense. You can check this program out in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. I'll put a link in the description below. Thank you for listening today. I hope this makes sense to you, and I will talk to you next time.